and everything goes dim. Like some people I know, but not on this call.
Good cat.
Hey! Awesome. So, Mr. Robert Powell, how are you, sir?
Well, you know the answer to that.
I do. But do you want to share the answer?
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
A few weeks ago, about a month and a half there, had a serious accident. Ended up being straight into hospital with dislocated shoulder. The ball part there actually ended up there. So that was a definite dislocation. Torn muscles, ripped tendons, nerve damage, the whole lot. However, hand is working. I can work a mouse. I can work a keyboard. Life is good. Driving, still a bit of a pain, but that will come in time.
I wouldn't do any driving. I probably wouldn't do much walking either, but, that's just me. But you are on the mend.
Yes, definitely.
Good. Excellent. All right. So for the sake of this, obviously I call you Bob. What do you prefer? Robert, Mr. Powell, Sir, or do I refer to you as the Grand Poobah?
The Grand Poobah was a title. It's not my actual name. But yes, the Grand Poobah thing was obviously there just because titles are such a nonsense.
They are.
So I was quite delighted to say, when somebody who won't be mentioned because I have too much respect for you, said you can name your own job title.
How novel.
Yes, and of course I went for Grand Poobah of UX.
He did. Grand Poobah of UX. Yes.
I have to tell you, when I put that title up on my profile, I must have had the best part of about 300 direct messages going, that's the dream role, that's what we want. Everybody got the message that, when it comes to design, the titles mean nothing.
It's hilarious, absolutely hilarious. So, for those who don't know, and if you haven't realized already, Bob and I have known of each other for quite some time. I think it was Barclays where I first walked into one of your splendid caves, I think, with the brilliant design manager at the time, Charlie Francis.
All praise his name, may his tribe increase.
Absolutely. Couldn't believe that I actually got the gig because I walked out of that interview thinking, I'm dead. I'm so dead. Because that was a grilling and then some. I wasn't used to that. But no. And that's how we first got acquainted, I guess. But before we get into that, do you want to tell for all of the folks who perhaps unwittingly living under some kind of massive stone rock mountain who aren't aware of who you are and what you've done and how you've started, would you just want to give us a quick overview as to all of that?
Quick overview, how to summarize 40 odd years in a couple of seconds. I am terrible at self-promotion. You know this, you have told me off it yourself. So let me just say I am old school, HCD. I was UX before the great God, Don Norman, actually qualified what the definition of UX was. Worked before the web on wonderful things called multimedia. Started off working in gaming and software, all for 16-bit computers. Web came along, started working as consultancy, taking the graphic stuff into software. I have my claim to fame from that time was I created the first Lloyd's of London intranet and worked with so many banks, it's just unreal. From there, moved on to education, which I just loved. Because, when it comes down to user testing and user research, there is nothing like a classroom full of 13-year-olds to tell you why your product sucks, why your design sucks, why you suck, why your parents suck, why the world sucks, and why teachers suck. And you get definite feedback without any sort of, I need to be polite and diplomatic. That doesn't work. So when it comes down to education.
An orgy of feedback.
Yes.
Crikey.
From there, joined up with a few friends, went into consultancy, which just exploded. Literally, I was working around the world. So many different countries, so many different organizations. Top of my head, South America, South Africa, plenty of places in Eastern Europe, Europe itself, Malaysia, quite a lot in Southern Asia, in fact. And yeah, when I came back here, I started working with individual companies. I was working with NatWest, then was recruited to go to St. Gobain and help them set up their first UK digital user experience, which was just a joy. Eventually ended up at Shell, where I was leader for design analytics, which is exactly what we used to do in the old days of UX, which is what happens when you put system data and user data together. You actually get data that can be actionable. So that was my role at Shell. Yeah, so that was me in a nutshell.
Crikey. Wow. So we, as I said before, I stumbled into Charlie Francis's Shiny Cave. I think it was floor 23 or 24 at Barclays. And like I said, I had no desire at all to get into retail banking or anything like that. I think it was...
No designer goes into this industry to go, oh, I really want to work for a bank.
No.
That doesn't happen.
No. I'd done trading applications before then, but I hadn't done the whole retail business, corporate, all of that. And I think it was the brilliant Hugo, recruiter, who has threatened me with doing an episode of this as well, but it hasn't happened yet. He's a very, very busy man, and he kind of cajoled me into, number one, going for the interview, and then by some fluke landing the gig. And I still remember where we sat, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think it was probably just 2 days before we not only were ripping the bejesus out of one another, but also every single other person who we laid eyes on or who we could hear. Because there was one person in particular, you could hear her before she arrived. She would jingle because of the amount of gold and other ornaments that she had festooned about herself. Brilliant PM.
I would just like to caveat that wasn't everyone we saw. The design team themselves, we gave gentle ribbings to, but that was part and parcel of the design team.
You say gentle.
Yeah, some of the digital experts. Yes. One of my favorite memories ever is a senior stakeholder sitting into one of your meetings, and he kept interrupting and kept saying, "No, we don't want to do that. We don't." And literally within 10 minutes, you'd gone, "Okay, we need to stop this. You can leave now." And the look on his face was, but no, you're not offering anything here. Leave. This does not progress until you leave. We will let you know what the decision is. And you just sat there until he actually left. And just people were around you were going, "Oh yeah, this one's going to make a difference." It set the standard. We were all doing it within a month. Stakeholders who thought they were complete product owners, no.
I was polite. I was professional, but I was also polite.
Yes. Which is not something I've ever mastered.
That's another story, and maybe we'll get into that. So, I mean, it's up to you. I mean, this, the preamble we had, I think, yesterday, the other day, and because I've been trying to get this done for quite a while. Either it's my fault, or you're busy falling off of ladders, or, something else has happened. But besides, I think, Bob Powell, the designer, you've got some incredible side hustles. He said,
"Do you like a good side hustle?"
Everyone likes a good side hustle.
Yeah. So one of my main side hustles is theatrical props. For those, I do them for cosplay community, for local theatres, for drama groups, for sort of independent filmmakers. Even had a couple of my props show up on Doctor Who, which was very rewarding. So that one is fun. At the moment, I'm building a Knight Templar suit of armour out of EVA foam, and that's coming together really well.
I mean, okay, because I've seen you shared pictures of them, and I'm still flabbergasted. I think it was an iteration of Boba Fett.
Yeah, a High Republic Mandalorian.
That one. Wow, just absolutely wow. So if we get hold of them, I'll definitely put them up so folks can, have a peruse. But it's something that's very, very common, I think, with folks who are brilliant at quote unquote design. And it's an observation that Thomas Wilson made. We all have other stuff that we are really, really passionate about, whether it's writing, whether it's making cosplay costumes or props, etc., which is what you're doing, or, playing the triangle, which is what I do in my cave here. But everyone who's just bloody good at it has other stuff as well. I think that's anyone's like hoping for an interview question. So what else do you do besides design? And if you see that candidate's eyes light up, I think that's a pretty good sign that that person is going to be amazing. What do you think?
I think it's true. I think designers as a whole, commercial designers anyway, we spend so much of our time designing for other people. People who pay us money. Thank you very much. I'll take the money. What I'll do with the money is I will actually design something for myself, something that I actually want. That could be, in my case, art supplies. I paint landscapes, grow bonsai. I create theatrical props. Anything and anything. I do it because I enjoy it. It's not like being say a gardener. If you're a professional gardener, the last thing you want to do when you get home is do your own bloody garden.
I can imagine.
If you're a designer, when you get home, the first thing you want to do is do something that you weren't allowed to do at work. Something that actually stretches your creative chops.
But it's definitely a multivariant. I think that's why the best of us are parallel processors, as opposed to serial processors. Yeah, kind of crazy. It's another thing that you do, which I'd forgotten about, and you just mentioned bonsai. How long have you been doing that?
Been on 30 years.
Good God. See, that's probably why you're slightly more patient than I am. Slightly.
I don't know. I do have a tendency to go out to the trees and go, grow!
Well, yes.
No, not there.
So, I mean, you've done, in terms of design then, you've covered everything. I don't think there's anything that you don't actually go and own. Would that be fair or not at all?
I mean,
you have your preferences. I'm sure you've got your preferences, right, in terms of discipline.
There are obvious things. Nobody designs everything. You get me to be a fashion designer, it's not going to go.
I don't know. Was it couture? They're pretty way out there. I can see a few people wearing some of your lampshades, maybe.
Yeah. Everything I do is based on knowledge I have accumulated because I want it. The stuff that didn't interest me, like I have no interest in architecture apart from the facades, load-bearing structures and all that. No, that's fine. I'll leave that to the people who love doing that.
Not a fan of Zaha Hadid then. I am. Everything that comes out of that place is just beautiful. Achingly beautiful. And no, fair dues. Crikey. This is, because you've done so much and you've been doing it for such a long time, it's actually quite difficult to focus on one thing because I'm at the same time conscious that I'm going to dive really, really deep into something because you don't have any shallow pools. You just don't. right? But you've mentioned Shell already. So do you want to talk us through about why did you want to go to an energy company with such a bad press? And yeah, just leave it at that.
I have never run away from a big challenge. I'm always run towards the big challenge. What's the point of being a designer if you're going to just get them?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, when I'd seen what you're doing, heard what you were doing through the grapevine for setting up the XD, and when you came along and said, take a look at this. Okay. So I had the wonderful, wonderful opportunity of being secret shopper, of actually going into Shell and seeing how it didn't operate. I'm not going to say it operated because it didn't. I just had how it didn't operate. I could wander into meetings, and when people said, "Who are you?" I said, "Oh, sorry, I'm new here. I just got the meeting invite." Yeah, okay, yeah, fine. So I could actually just sit back, turn the camera off, and just observe how other people were interacting, and more especially how they were interacting with design within Shell. And without putting any too fine a point on it, they were really, really bad at it, which was really, really astounding, because when you actually looked at design within Shell, it was a dream. It was a dream because it wasn't a department. It wasn't set up to be a facility for Shell to move into. It was a design community operating within Shell. It sat underneath the IT umbrella, but marketing, yep, we'll go and use those guys. Communications, we'll go and use those guys. Accessibility. Oh my God. We've got Maya over here who knows more than anybody in the entire world. We'll use her. And we had illustrators, we had UI designers, we had CX, UX, service design. And it was like, there are literally agencies out there, high-flying, big-name agencies that cannot call on this talent. And everybody was just like, I don't want to leave. Why would I want to leave? It's not a question about money, because God knows Shell does not pay the best money.
It does not.
It's not about the work, because most of the work is given to you as, here's a solution, make it look pretty. It was the fact that the leadership team within EXD, especially yourself, actually gave people permission to push back against that, actually gave designers the power to design, to actually say no. But not just no full stop, it was no and. So you gave designers the chance to actually not just design, but to teach about design. And then you would put them all together, just get them talking. And that sort of atmosphere, that sort of camaraderie, I've never come across before, and I doubt it will come across again. And the fact that you did that by design yourself, one of these days I should turn this around and interview you instead. But
there's a threat.
But honestly, when I came to the end and I could illustrate to yourselves and to the higher-ups that they were paying lip service to Agile, that they were paying lip service to design thinking, that they were paying lip service to production, that they were paying lip service to interaction design, lip service to service design, and then could actually show them not just why it was failing, but where it was failing and who was failing. And because you had set up this system where the people who didn't want to listen wouldn't listen, but the ones who did, that made a huge difference, because I was the secret shopper. I was the outsider. I wasn't part of XD, not then. And then when I'd actually presented all of that, you turned around and said, so, how do you feel about joining? Where do I sign? It was just as simple as that. It wasn't even a thought. It was just like, where do I sign? And for 2 years, you, I, and the other members of the design leadership team, we fought tough and nail. And what we got, it's just astounding. Every chance I get now where I talk about design as a culture, design as a part of business, of operations, that is the model I now follow. So the fact that we got there, you'd done it for 5 years, I'd been there for 2. And then the entire thing was scrapped by accountants. Yeah, if the rumours are true, they are now starting to understand what they have lost. But yeah, what we lost, what the design team lost, that was profound. But every single person who left EXT now has a new benchmark.
Mm-hmm.
This is what good looks like. This is what works. This is what's effective. And it goes beyond designing what's on screen. It goes beyond customer journeys, and wireframes, and all of those good things. It actually goes to the way of thinking and approaching design as a commercial concept. So yeah, there was no way I was going to mess that up. And even though still searching for my next position, that's the kind of position I'm looking for. And if I can't find it, that's the sort of position I will build.
Yep, it wasn't easy.
And it was easy.
It definitely didn't happen by random. I mean, you've got 10 years on me. And that 10 years is significant. There's an awful lot of bias in our sector, in I think particularly in the creative sectors. If you hit mid-40s or thereabouts, then yeah, goodbye. Even if you have got an interesting haircut. And that additional knowledge, expertise that folks like yourself can draw upon, because that is priceless. What I learned in agency land primarily is, okay, don't argue with the client. Find a way to influence the client so you can find some common ground. So you need to understand your ecosystem, understand what's right about it, definitely understand what's wrong about it, and then, yeah, try and figure out a way. Now, the reason after 4 or 5 years or whatever it was, where I'd got it to the point of, we talk about design maturity model. And that's when I thought, I need someone to come and invalidate this, because before I move to the next level of maturity, I'd better make sure that what I'm doing has got some legs. I kind of knew, but you get sucked into the ecosystems as well.
You get too close.
Yeah. And having
second perspective,
having the absolute luxury of being able to bring you in and say, okay, show me where this is broken. Show me where I've screwed this right up. But if there's a couple of places that seem like they're doing okay, then yeah. And you basically did that very, very quickly. That was pivotal. That was absolutely pivotal, because then this leadership team my leadership team that you have already referred to, the cracks within that were also starting to appear, because you get good people, passionate people, and they want to deliver. They want to do good work. They want to succeed, but you don't want them making the same mistakes that you yourself and other people who are at the same level of seniority as you have made. And that's a difficult skill, which I'm still trying to perfect. And so those cracks began to appear. But we muddled through. It was okay. Introducing design ops was awesome.
Fundamental.
That for me, besides you coming in and saying, yeah, it looks like it's okay. Yeah, a bit, well.
Here's the weaknesses. Here's your communications. Here's where things aren't connecting when they should. Yeah, that was great. But then you did actually need the design ops to go on top of it.
Yes.
Actually say, okay, now we recognize the problem. This is the process we are going to have to fix it.
Yep.
And that's what design ops did. And
with bells on.
Yeah. Let's give him a shout out. He deserves it. Loriano was just magnificent at that.
No, he was. Definitely. But we had to have, failed before then, which we did. And then, so for example, I just need a couple of dashboards. Thank you very much. 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, nothing. Absolutely nothing coming out of my LT, for crying out loud. And he turns up, less than 2 weeks. There you go. Here's the first couple of iterations. And it was such a relief, because then we could socialize those metrics. And why I wanted yourself to look after analytics, because usually what I found is when folks are building up capabilities, they start with the analytics. You genuinely couldn't do that at Shell because the roles weren't in place, the structure wasn't in place, the methodology wasn't there, the governance wasn't there. So
governance certainly wasn't.
What are you measuring?
Yeah. And why are you measuring it?
Yeah. You're just going to,
what led you to that decision? Let's be honest, you came to that decision because you set the metrics on what would be easiest to achieve so that you could get your bonus at the end of the year.
Yep, absolutely.
I bet you actually own the bonus by actually delivering what needs to be done.
The land of corporates.
Very much so.
Yeah, so...
One of my real bugbears is every now and then somebody will come up and say, how do you actually show the ROI on design? Good God, we have got tons of KPIs that will do that.
Yep. All for now, though.
Well, you said that, but like I said, everybody who, okay, forget this bombs, everybody they threw out like rubbish knows what good looks like now. I may not have come across it to that sort of level. So when you look at it as what we did for Shell, for those 5 years you were there, for the 2 years I was there, we improved their design capability. But they didn't want it in the end. That's down to them. What we did more than that was actually empower a whole new generation of designers to understand what design is. And it's not just pictures on screen. The heavy lifting is in the mental load. It's, okay, so how do we get from there to there? And before you've even put pen to paper, stuck it on a board, a pixel on a screen, the heavy lifting you've done mentally to actually decide what you actually want to present visually rather, is huge. And the fact that they knew they could do that, plus still have support from leaders, from peers themselves, was an eye-opener for most of them. And the fact that each and every single designer, top it down, wanted to help people who weren't as experienced as them, spoke volumes. When it was announced that I was leaving, it's the only time I have actually had my own team members crying because they knew the changes were coming and there was nothing they could do to stop it. Yes, some of it was losing such a wonderful, beautiful manager as myself, but some of it was quite rationally was, where are the gains from this? We can't see it. And the reason they couldn't see it is because they knew what good was. And to have from juniors, interns, freshers, all the way up to really senior designers, still coming in and doing that, helping each other, both downwards, upwards, left and right, sharing experiences, was amazing. It was quite telling at the time of leaving how many people who I just had like brief contact with over my tenure there were calling up and saying, this is terrible, how is this happening? What's going on? You're so talking to the wrong person. Talk to your peers, talk to your bosses, because we haven't, we've only got so far. It's all going to go pear-shaped with everything that you've built. Yeah. Well, guess what? We've actually had some people come to us and say, we want design to fail. We want to go back to what it was 5-6 years ago when you just delivered what was told. Well, great. That's what you've got.
Yeah. Happy days. Good luck with that. It's not going to work. And it's not going to work with this new paradigm called artificial intelligence. Try doing that without design and yeah, but it's the same pattern, right? It's a conversation I've had with Debbie Levitt. It's a conversation I've had with Thomas Wilson. And now, surprise, surprise, I'm going to have with yourself. What's your view on this new gizmo called the AI?
I absolutely love it. I'm not going to lie. But that's because I see it as a tool. It's just another tool for actually getting from concept to end design as quickly as possible. It takes away all of the heavy lifting. Big problem for me with AI isn't actually the technology. It isn't that it's doing things that people normally do. It's the fact that so many places are using it not as a tool, but as a replacement to human beings To maintain the status quo, where's the innovation? Where is your value? What is your definition of success? Because if your definition of success is doing exactly the same, just cheaper, that translates to failing cheaper. Now, those places that are taking AI and going to the designers and going, okay, what we can do here now is get AI to actually sit to the parameters you want. So you tell AI what it is instead of AI telling you what it is. And when you get to the point where, okay, so AI, tap, 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 show me a typical user journey on how to get through a checkout as quickly as possible. Okay, brilliant. I've got that. No, I'm not going to bloody implement it. I'm a human. I have the experience. I'm going to look at this and go, okay, that's a good start, but this hasn't taken into that. This hasn't taken into that. That needs to move over. And you actually design the output. So many places now are going, tap, 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 tap. Oh, AI's done it. Goodbye, designer. And then get surprised when it breaks.
Mm-hmm.
No, it can't work like that. The potential for AI to get rid of so much of the mental heavy lifting and just leaving you to be creative. Just letting designers purely design, it's just mind-blowing.
Yeah, but when you
what are people using it for?
Yeah.
Turn me into a Simpsons character.
There's a couple of things to that, right? I mean, it's the age-old race to shiny, which hasn't changed. And in part because of the ignorance that's still prevalent. I mean, you've been doing this for 40 years. I'm touching 30 years myself. It's kind of crazy that people still don't know the value that design brings, because it's not decoration, it's governance. Now, put that in the context of Shell and other places as well. We had this wonderful thing done by Rick Sesnius. I always butcher his surname. And he was brilliant. He was basically putting the frameworks in for IT governance. And they had this thing called Software Engineering Management System, SEMS. And I said, can I have a policy for that, for experience design? Yes, absolutely. I think you should, said Rick. And so we did. And that became an incredibly powerful weapon, an influencing tool for folks who turn around and say, yeah, I just need you to do X, Y, and Z. Yeah, but X, Y, and Z requires all of these tasks to be done by the right caliber of design practitioner. And here are examples of the artifacts that you're actually going to be receiving. And that empowered not just the capability, it empowered IT, and the other side of that line, it empowered all of our lovely designers. That governance framework is critical. Because right now, it is absolutely the Wild West. It's a race to shiny. It is anyone can do this. It is if I can type into a keyboard and get the right quote-unquote prompts. I mean, there's courses for knowing how to put prompts in now, for crying out loud. I mean, bless them. Someone's got to make a buck, yeah? And they are. But that's okay. But if you're not considering human beings, what exactly and who exactly are you creating products and services for? Because we are creators, we are thinkers, we are makers, we are supporters, we are everything that makes us feel the way that we do. And that's good and bad. And unless humans are in control of this wonderful thing called the AI, I don't see the point of it.
AI is not the danger. Stupid people using AI is the danger. If you've replaced all the people with AI that doesn't need paying, how are those people going to pay for the products that the AI is producing? Self-fulfilling prophecy. You want AI to replace jobs? Guess what? Yours is next in the line. You want AI to be a tool for people to improve, designed to improve process, to improve life in general. Great. Train people to use the AI product.
Yeah, exciting times for sure. Definitely. What's next for you? Because you could do anything you wanted to do. And that's an awesome position to be in.
In a strange position there. You said it yourself. I have done this for 40 years now. I have nothing to actually prove to myself. Everything that I've wanted to do, I have sort of achieved, with the exception of running a huge company to actually have design as design-led. But I don't have the monetary backing for that. So where I am now is I don't give a damn about the title. I don't give a damn about the company. What I care about is making a difference. And as we did in EXD, is helping the next generation of designers achieve everything they can. I had some exceptional teachers and mentors when I was coming up. Now, it's not to pay back. That's all I want to do. As long as my mortgage is paid and I am making a difference, that's all I want to do. Simple things.
Yes, simple things. I'm pretty much of the same mindset. But one thing that is still bothering me is these roles that I see advertised, and folks call me, contact me, send the carrier pigeon to me. Do I need that sector experience? Because that job description has made it so explicit that they would not entertain applications, or they prefer applications for people who do have sector experience X, Y, and Z, right? What's your take on that?
It's not just you need to have sector experience. You have to have experience of this particular system of design. You have to be able to know Figma, know Vision, to know Framer, to know all of these different. And if you haven't got that, no, we're not even going to consider you. Again, these are all just tools. Just as design, if I'm designing for a Mandalorian, or if I am designing for a Victorian lamp, or I am designing for drug paraphernalia 1980s set, I'm still designing. I don't need to be the druggie. I don't need to be a Victorian. I don't need to be a Mandalorian. I do need to know what I'm designing for.
Yes.
That is all I need to do. And what I need to do on top of there is know, who am I designing it for? What are their expectations? What is it they want? That's where the user research comes in. And I'm not going to be talking to any Victorians, but I do know experts in Victoriana who are going to be able to talk to them. I don't know any Mandalorians because they don't exist. But I know lots of people who know what they want from a Mandalorian. Drug user. I'm not a drug user. I'm too flipping scared of needles and never been able to swallow tablets until recently, painkillers. But that doesn't matter. The person who's doing the production knows what they want, and I need to understand that. Now, if I make those things out of metal, wood, plastic, foam, whatever I'm making them out of, whether I'm doing it with a sharp knife, with a hammer, with a saw, I've got a whole multitude of different. The fact that I can work across all of those comes down to the fact that I know how to design regardless of sector, and I know how to build regardless of tools. And when you've actually got this framework that says, fit your bomb into this little box there, regardless of everything else you bring to the role, who's winning? It's not the person who's actually going to be employing somebody who does this little much or can do this much. Again, the devaluing of design. It's the idea that design is, it's deliverable. It's the idea that design is there purely for aesthetics. You know, if that was true, God help deaf people, they've never had anything designed. Blind people, they've never had anything designed in their life. It's you know, God help engineering, nothing under the bonnet of a car has ever been designed. You don't see it. No, design is not aesthetics. Design is the process that delivers a solution. And that solution can be anything. And your influences for that design come from so many different sectors, way outside of digital.
Yep, absolutely.
So when I see those sort of things, it's like, okay, can we have the conversation? Instead of the tick box, can we have the conversation? Instead of you telling me what box I need to crawl into, tell me what skills you actually need. Because guess what? If you don't know Framer, spend a week on YouTube, you'll be up to speed. Same with Figma.
Yep.
There are thousands and thousands. So are you actually employing somebody who knows how to work Framer or somebody who knows how to design? Are you applying somebody who can operate Figma but no idea why they are operating? Those conversations still drive me up the wall. But conversely, those are also the sort of organizations I do want to work for, so that I can actually show them this is what you're missing out on.
Yep. Couldn't agree more, fella. Could not agree more.
Same thing with AI. As I said earlier, AI is not being used to make companies better. It's being made to just maintain a status quo. No innovation, just use this to stay where we are, instead of use this to actually take us higher and higher and higher.
Yep. And
It's not design that's the problem. It's not AI that's the problem. It's bad thinking. It's bad business practice. It's the
people.
idea that we know the cost of everything and the value of nothing.
Yes, with bells on. Folks making decisions that, they have no business making decisions on. But that's the world that we live in, unfortunately.
It is. Yeah. So again, that's my big criteria for what I do next is, can I make a difference? Can I deliver? Yeah, no problem. Can I make a difference? That's out of my hands. But yeah, the first person that turns around to me and says, we don't have a huge amount of money, but we do want to get better. We do want to make a difference. Can you help us? I will sign on the bottom line.
Yep. I mean, hopefully I'll find something and then I can drag you back in, because that was a luxury, an absolute luxury. Not having to butt heads with anybody else and just knowing that...
We butted heads, but we challenged each other.
That's different. But in a good way, in a productive way, professionally, politely. I think George Carlin would be proud. Bless him. It's just amazing. That's cool. All right. So how long have we been yapping for?
Hour and a half, now 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's okay. Is there anything you wanted to share? Or
I mean, the only thing that I think we haven't touched on is the number of people who are in charge of design leadership who can neither design nor lead.
Oh, what a can of worms you are opening up, Mr. Powell.
Absolutely. And I will go and upset people even further by saying so much of it is actually our own damn fault. We were so eager to take any design job offered to us that we didn't care who was offering it. And when people benefited from our designs to further their own careers, that didn't help us, that helped them. So now there are a lot of people who are design leads who have themselves never designed anything or have been in control of people that design things. They've never actually led, certainly not by example, but they know how to play the corporate game. That's also a segment of the current business that is either going to collapse or turn everything over to AI. We need to actually be certain that design is being taught, especially human-centered design.
So go on.
I still remember in Shell where I asked a group of POs who the end user was. There's one. I turned around and said, we are. Not one of them was actually going to use the damn product at the end, but they were the end user. There was another project where all of the personas, all of the user journeys were produced by system architects, never sat in front of the user in their lives. What they were doing was what they want the user to do rather than what does the user do that we need to actually know.
Yes.
And that's not unique to Shell.
No, not by a long chalk. No, I mean, not surprisingly, it's something that, lots of folks who I've spoken to on this podcast have said, the lack of authentic design, and I don't mean that in a woke, authentic way, but authentic in so much as designers need to be led by designers. And those leadership positions, it's not just about, whether you went to Chelsea College of Art. It's not just about whether you've, led a team of 5 or 6. Do you have commercial acumen? How much scar tissue have you accumulated? Are you sweating buckets because you're in a room full of people who have no respect for you? Do you know how to win them over, or walk out and pick and choose your battles, or ask them to leave the room? Right? All of that requires experience. And even if you do have a role like that, how can you be mentoring and helping your direct reports, let alone their team practitioners, if you don't know the basics, right? I mean, famously, I asked one of my direct reports, you have to learn at least one design tool. I don't care what it is. Illustrator, Axure RP, I don't care. Figma, I'm using Figma. Okay, great. That's good. Just one. That's fine. Turned out that it was Fig Jam. And then this person was also mentoring, allegedly. And you kind of think to yourself, well, odd. It's just odd. So you have to get the foundations right. And these folks who are in design leadership positions, good luck to you. If you're learning as you go along, good luck to you. But don't sit there and flaunt yourself off as the grand Poohbah of design.
I think where you're going.
But if you haven't walked that path, and it is a very long path, it's a windy path, it's something that I think every single design leader has to be able to do. It's the scar tissue that they have accumulated. It's the manner in which that they hold themselves, which is the most telling. The most telling. It's weird. We're in such a weird space.
I liken it to somebody who knows how to drive a car, telling Formula One drivers how to actually drive.
A little knowledge is very dangerous. Very, very, very dangerous. Great. Look, it's been awesome. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for being patient enough to do this. Thank you.
Not a problem, mate. Anytime.